And the rush was impressive last night. They got to Patrick Mahomes 4 times. When Kancey got to him, like we've seen Mahomes, and they mentioned this on the broadcast, run away from that kind of heat a lot. And that's what made me start thinking about the ankle that he later tweaked, because we saw it against the Bucs in Super Bowl 55. He had turf toe all season long. We had no idea how bad it was. He had surgery 2 days after Super Bowl 55. He just couldn't get the separation from the defensive linemen who were chasing him the way that he normally did. He still had a superhuman effort in the loss to the Bucs, but here's the moment. He has the little flip to Samaje Perine, steps awkwardly on the left ankle, and there was some, and it's funny when you watch these games. Well, I'm not going to speculate, but it looks like his hip. Like, if you say first, I'm not going to speculate, then you can say whatever you want. It's like saying to somebody with all due respect and then insulting them. And I love Troy Aikman, and he's not the only one who does it. Well, we're not going to speculate, but it looks like his hip. And they officially said it was his ankle. I know Sims was texting on the main PFT Live chain that he thought there was something weird with the hip. It was just a weird step. It was a weird moment. But that first thought, because he was on the injury report with the ankle, when he isn't able to get away from guys the way that he usually does, the only thing that keeps him from doing it is some sort of a lower body injury that is sapping just enough of that acceleration that we see him typically turn on whenever he wants to.
Yeah, and I think one of the things is when he went down, whenever we watch a player go down, you saw like the kind of sit back and pause, almost like he knew something was really wrong. So I think for all of us, it was like, oh, and then the replay showed, it was like, oh, it was non-contact, because I don't think people were sure at first, did he get hit on the release because he's scrambling? So when you watched it, you were like, oh, this looks really bad. And it was a really awkward step. But then I said to my wife, I was like, I mean, he must be hurt, because this guy is a tough football player. He's played through a lot of different injuries. And when he was first being helped to the sideline, it was like, oh, man, can he not put any weight? And then as they got closer, I think it was more sometimes as a player, you take a step and it just feels like something you've never done before. You're like, that didn't feel good. And right away, the first thing that goes to your mind is like, this is it. Oh, my goodness. And I think that's why he sat there, because he knew it was a step that he really kind of took the wrong way, or his cleat got stuck, whatever you want to call it. And then I think as they were helping him to the sideline, as he got closer to the sideline, you saw him kind of was like, okay, all right, like it's okay. It was almost like Forrest Gump running out of those little things that they gave him for his legs, and it was like he got faster and faster. And then once you saw Mahomes on the sideline, I was like, oh, he's okay. Like he realized it was just a bad step. It wasn't much after that. But again, his toughness and what he does of going down and then getting back up and then coming back in the game, I think his teammates get fueled off of that. In the last drive and overtime, his linemen don't really, and they don't have that much, they don't show that much emotion. And I played with Joe Tooney for a while, and they talked about, between Trey Smith, Creed Humphrey, and Tooney, there's no better trio of guard and two guards in the center. They scored a winning touchdown. They go crazy. They look like they're talking trash. So I think a part of Mahomes and his greatness comes from the ability to fuel his team, not by talking or, these hype-up speeches, but consistently showing up time after time, no matter what he goes through.
Oh, one of the things, I thought two things last night, and we'll hear from Mahomes on his ankle injury in a second. The first thing I thought is, hey, you know what? Back in the 70s, when the primary rehab and training for any injury was walk it off, maybe they were right. Maybe they were right, because it looked like he walked it off. And second, and I don't want to put this on him because he's never shown this tendency, but it had a little bit of a Ben Roethlisberger feel to it, because Roethlisberger had a well-earned reputation of exaggerating and embellishing injuries. Like, is there a little okey-doke going on here with the Buccaneers? I'm going to make them think I'm messed up, and I'm going to lull them into a sense of security before I rip their heart out and show it to them. I don't think that was it, because I just don't think that's how he does business. But there was a little of that thought that maybe it wasn't quite as dire as it initially seemed. And he was fired up after he threw the second touchdown pass to DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, he was animated. They've brought their postseason do whatever it takes to win mindset to every week of the regular season.
And it's tough for the rest of the league because that's championship mindset of football. Like usually you just said it. We don't hear teams as much talk about that until they get in the playoffs because then it's win or go home. So then how we criticize or analyze, oh, they don't do this well. Like no team cares about that once you get in the playoffs because you win a game, it resets and it turns back into, all right, however we have to win the next game, that's what we do. And if we get another game, that's what we do. And then ultimately if we get to the Super Bowl, we don't care how we win. And this Chiefs team, they're doing that now throughout the regular season. The reason we don't talk about that as much during the regular season is a lot of teams don't have the ability to win multiple ways. You often hear, whether it's us Sunday night talking about it, or Jason Garrett usually always says, like, hey, this team has a style. They need to play to a certain way. And when they can play their way, play the game on their terms, they are a pretty good team. They have a chance to win. The Chiefs are a team that they can play the game on anybody's terms. No matter what the game turns into, it's rainy, it's hard, it's cold, they can do it. In a dome, they can do it. Like the versatility that this team has to play a defensive game, to if the team's scoring and they can't get stops on defense, I think everybody around the National Football League believes even though the Chiefs haven't had to do that, they'll do it. They'll find a way to go and muster 35, 40 points in a game if they have to. So it's really remarkable when you think about a team being able to play this way in a regular season and dealing with injuries that either they muddy the game up to bring you to their level and play how they want to play, or they match you wherever you're at and they beat you at your own game. It's hard to do. And again, I'm amazed every week watching them.
I think it speaks to something they're not talking about, and they've probably been told by Andy Reid to never talk about it. But the fact that because last year it was the exact opposite. Last year they were sleepwalking their way through the regular season because they knew it didn't matter. What matters is let's get to the playoffs. They got their scare, their wake-up call on Christmas against the Raiders when for a little while we're thinking there's a way these dominoes fall that they don't even make the playoffs if they don't turn it around here down the stretch. But they want 3 in a row. They're not going to come out and say it, whether it's we don't want to jinx it or we don't want to make the target on our backs any bigger than it already is. But they're playing week in and week out like they are determined to make history and to be the first team to ever win 3 in a row. It's oozing through everything they do because it feels like they're treating every regular season game like a postseason game. Bless you.
Yeah, appreciate that. And we try to find, we keep doing it. Compare this team. Tell us why. It's hard. It's hard to say how they're doing it other than they believe in what they're doing more than I think the teams believe that they can come in and beat the Chiefs. I think they really are locked in on, hey, we're going to find a way to win. Hey, we're going to do this. Hey, defensively, we're going to keep coming at you and get stops, and eventually on third down, Spags is going to draw up some exotic blitz or some exotic pressure that's going to get home. It's going to seal the game. They know that way more in that blueprint. They know that better than the other teams know how to beat them, how to come in and consistently do what you need to do. And I'm sure we'll hit it later in the show, but Tampa does everything. Drive down the field. You have the chance to either tie the game or go for 2.
Oh, it's coming. It's coming.
I think the Chiefs are sitting there like, hey, we're not worried. Let's go to overtime. That's what we do.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.